tell you, my eyes were just, oh my God, I love you.
Let me tell you a little story. It's the late 70s, and I'm doing 3 days on a little film called Beyond the Poseidon Adventure. You're welcome. And we were shooting nights, and I was taking some stuff to, stay awake. So it's about 4 in the morning, and I'm driving home, and I'm at the corner of Vineland and Dilaudid, if you know what I'm saying. Well, one thing leads to another, and I kill a wino with my car. Now, who's my boss? I don't have a boss except for the cat upstairs. That man, the main cat. And I hear a voice in my head, and it's him. And he says, "Zayas, no one's around. Get the hell out of here." And that's him taking care of me. So I beat it out of there, but I still have a wino-shaped dent in the front of my car. And I think, who do I know who lives in the valley? Peter Lawford, that's who. So I fly to Peter Lawford's house. He's still in Encino because it was before the divorce. The problem is Peter has a statue in his front yard of him and Sammy Davis Jr. It's a recreation of the one sheet for Salt and Pepper. I'm in such a panic to get off the streets because the sun's coming up. I slam into the statue and demolish it. And that is why, despite all the things that Peter did that disappointed Frank Sinatra, I'm the guy who broke his legs.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Live with Bill Tucci.
Behold his mighty hand.
Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang, Tucci gang.
Just want to manage expectations.
Moo! Bah!
This is the worst.
Boom.
But it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
What? What's up, everybody out there? Teen sensation Bill Tucci. And now the brain of the mainframe, Niall
The
Scala.
brain of the mainframe. Ha ha! Billy, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great, man. I got a haircut today. So we're we are what is this, our fourth episode of Bill Tucci?
This is
Thursday
like
Night
your
Live
fifth or
with Billy
sixth.
Tucci?
5th or 6th episode.
No, is it?
Yeah, I made the playlist because we're starting to accumulate them.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're coming to you live today on Wednesday because tomorrow morning I have to go to where am I going, Scala? I'm going to a wrestling tournament. My son Matthew is in a big wrestling tournament called War at the Shore in New Jersey. So going down to Wildwood, New Jersey. For like another tournament of all like the best wrestlers on the East Coast of that's probably, I don't know, maybe Maryland and up, or maybe North Carolina and up. And so we got to hit that tomorrow, and then we're going to spend a week down in Florida.
Nice.
And I'll
What are
be
you going to do in Florida?
working.
They don't have nude beaches. It's boring.
They don't. Well, we're going to be. I'm going to swing by
nude.
Davis Mance. I think he doesn't know it yet because he's on the way. Maybe we'll stop and get a burger or something. But we got a great show today. Thank you, Dan. We got a great show tonight. Again, thank you all for joining us. I know it's our Thursday night. It's Wednesday, but hey, it happens. I've been working hard, Scala. Working hard.
I know. You're stressed. This man is stressed.
Stressed out like you don't know.
Holy smokes.
A new cover I did. This is going to be our new She Spring Art of War Spring Edition. I think we're gonna have this due on Friday. My boy Wes Hartman is doing the colors for it. So we'll have that by Friday. This is how you know it's a Bill Tucci live, because there's my little chuck on the back.
Oh, look at
See that
that.
little bad boy? And then I'm working on another secret thing here. Another cover.
What?
What?
What is that?
Those are the roughs for something for that's a big book, big book celebrating the 30th anniversary of She. And another character.
I was just freaking out thinking it was Thursday.
No, I John, I sent you the link. I said it's because it's today. Because I got to go. I'll be in New Jersey tomorrow. So yeah. So I'll be bringing my work down. I got to finish this cover. I got a tight deadline on that, and because that's how far ahead I work, Scala.
Hey,
I'm working
man.
on stuff coming out in 2024 right now.
Jeez, you're on the grind, bro.
On the grind, brother. But
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
That we're sitting there talking, leaving our superstar in the backstage, which we shouldn't do. Like a man like this. Oh, hang on. Kind of disappeared for a second.
Oh.
But Scala, what'd you think of my Dr. Zayas video? The cat upstairs, get it? With Cat Pappy?
Yeah, Cat Pappy downstairs. Yeah, yep. I get it. I get it.
Cat upstairs.
Yeah. Let's not play that again. Let's not play that again.
All right, whatever.
There's so many other ones too. Did you check them out?
Yeah, but how about that kid, man? Let's bring Shane Davis in. We'll talk about that real quick. Then we'll get into Shane's career. We'll talk about him being a cat daddy, pterodactyl daddy. We're gonna have a good time. Go about 45 minutes, I guess. Shane's a very busy man, Scala. Very busy.
Well, he only paid for
crowdfunding. Comic superstar, primarily for DC Comics. Then ventured out on his own against all flags, but found himself a flag with a bunch of good friends. Drew his sword under that banner, and now he's sitting here with us. He is kicking ass in the crowdfunding as an indie creator, writer, artist, working with, of course, the beautiful Yanzi Lin. And without further ado, everyone, Mr. Shane Davis.
Ayo. Here we go. Just kicking off right.
It's one of my favorite things. You know what we got to do? We got to get the from Ethan the introductions.
No,
the Kings. We got to get everyone's introduction. Because
I think everybody needs those. I think we should all have them and be able to throw them up.
Yeah, Niall created one for the bros, and all the bros use it. So why not this?
Why not?
So
share it. You got to share the wealth, Yeah.
So Shane, I'm glad to have you on here. Scala, we never had Shane on crowdfunding.
Yes,
back in the early days.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we did.
Pop XP. I've been on Pop XP.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't remember. I have a terrible short.
Wow.
We transitioned, man. we transitioned over to Pop XP.
Yeah.
When Shane popped into the scene.
Well, thank you, Shane. So Shane,
John says he's here to judge me. Well, John, you could take the link and come in here and judge me, that
was a fun show last week with John on it. It was good. Well, that's what we're having here. We're having a good time on here. Look at this. I spilled my energy drink on my freaking shirt. Look at my chest, Shane. Look at that. I'm turning into like a Kurt Swan Superman. Look at that.
Look at that. It's a nice stain you got there.
I'm benching hard. 3 reps. About
women if women are looking for a really good man, you should look for a man that's got mustard stains on his shirt.
Yes.
That is the salt of the earth right there. That is the man that will stick with you because no other woman's going to put up with his shit. So, that's a keeper, ladies. I know you have a large female demographic in this stream. So because I'm here, I'm bringing a lot of women here. All right.
Look at that ugly kid.
Who farted? I don't know.
Nah, that's a great. Well, cute. You were a kid. Oh Lord. That was waiting for when Rainey pops in. I thought. Damn, we should send Mandy the link. We got to get Mandy because I wanted that brother sister tension going on.
Right, that whole incestual fever going on. It's just a Southern trailer park thing. You just assume you're related. I don't know if we're related.
But that's some tension. That's some hot tension, brother.
I tell her to sit on ice cubes when she's going to stream with me, but she don't listen.
And it shows.
Yeah.
She's
always squirming in her seat.
Always squirming, jiggling, and squirming, and giggling. I don't know, Shane Davis. I think you might do something to her.
I mean, I wouldn't, but
no,
I have an effect.
Not intentional.
I mean, that is the thing. You know, I that's something you have to deal with in life is your effect on women. You know, I mean, I'm going through life as me, but every now and then you got to think about the other people that, you know, outside of my cone of vision, like how the effect the footprint I'm leaving on this earth, you know.
Yeah, it's like Elvis. It wasn't Elvis's fault that those girls acted like that, was it?
Yeah, it's just like Elvis, like
that sweet Southern charm he had.
You know, that's what they used to say about the Beatles. You'd see, you know, all these girls screaming and stuff. Some reporter wrote, he was like, "Here's the thing. He's like, I was on the scene. The only thing you could smell was urine."
Oh my Lord!
The effect the Beatles had on women. They couldn't control their bodily functions, Billy.
Well, wait till you're at that Tampa Comic Con, buddy. I think it's going to be stinking and swishing around your table.
Yeah, this is a horrible show, Billy. I'm sorry. I take complete blame for it, though. It's me.
Shane, we're glad to have you on here. Lots of stuff has been happening. You're kicking ass. You are a giant. You are one of the most beloved indie creators. You are a virtual knight of CG, if you will. Beautiful man.
I mean,
with a story to tell, with a beautiful family.
Yeah.
Loved you reconnecting with the gorgeous Yanzi. That's a great story. I love the picture that led to it. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that one, Scala.
I believe he a couple of the times he was on, I think we went through all that.
Yeah, it comes up every time she needs leverage on something. She's like, "You know how many years of our life you wasted?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you win." I'm like, "It doesn't matter." She plays that card every time she needs like dominance over, like we're arguing over takeout. She'll play that card.
No,
you know?
Just man.
Yeah, it's just like, fuck, dude.
How many years was it?
I think 10.
Oh my God, 10. That is a long time.
Yeah, she's like, if we had just gotten together then. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Well, you should say, but we wouldn't have baby pterodactyl.
Well, now I can play. I leverage that. Yeah, but now, do you know what she does? And then it's escalation, Billy. Then she comes back. Well, we could have 2. We'd have 3. We'd have 4. It was like, oh my God, I can't win. I just lay down. I just lay down right now. I'm like, I just roll over and show my belly.
Well, that mother-in-law of yours isn't there, is she?
She'll come back, but you know.
But now you got a little bit of a break. All right, Shane Davis. Tell us, for the people out there, for those of you that don't know who you are, for shame. But we got a lot of people watch the show. A lot of people who watch a show watch it maybe not necessarily live. They'll come on, they want to crowdfund their own books, become publishers themselves. Give us a little background on you getting into comics.
That's an interesting story. So I came from a very, very poor background, Billy. Like, I'm talking dirt poor, living in a trailer park. Yeah. Bare feet walking down a dirt road.
Oh my God.
Park. I remember walking down this dirt road on a trailer park to a yard sale on the other end of the trailer park, and I bought some Jack Kirby comics. I bought what was it? I think it was Etrigan the Demon and his Black Panther run. And I was like, this dude's crazy as fuck. Look at this. You know, I just thought this guy's crazy. Just shit he would draw, the background characters, all the kooky shit in the background. And I got really into comics. And then I actually dropped out of high school to get my GED just so I could go work in a factory and try to make a little extra money to go to school, to go to art school.
You literally had to drop out of high school to work to.
Well, I wanted to get there quicker because I was taking drawing very serious. I was taking the idea of drawing comics very serious. So I got my GED, and you know, I went to work right away. Again, I came from a very poor family. You know, my mother and brother could have used the support. So either way, I was probably going to end up going to work in a factory really quick. You know, so did about a couple of years in the factory, saved up, and I went to the Kubert School in New Jersey. I figured I would try it a year or two, and the first year I wasn't sure if I'd really take to the, you know, be accepted and the grind. And at the same time, I was always doing sample pages and showing at conventions. And the whole time before I even went to the Kubert School as a kid, I would go to like the Heroes Con every year and go show like my drawings to a lot of people in the comic industry. In hindsight, like Jimmy Palmiotti, Joe Quesada, Todd McFarlane. I got him to look at some of my drawings when I was like 13. And actually he flipped over and drew like a little swiggly thing and taught me how he would come up with poses for Spider-Man and stuff. He'd just come up with these interesting shapes and try to fold him up into these poses that would fit these interesting shapes. Wow. So when I eventually went to the Kubert School, I mean, I was like going to give it my all to get in the comics. I don't know, besides my love of drawing, I mean, I love comics, but I always knew it was like it felt like a foolish thing no matter what. Like I always felt like it was risky and very few people make it. And, you know, getting during that time, and we're talking like, I guess this would have been the 90s, you know, like everybody was like, oh, as soon as you get printed, that's it, you know, like that you got it made. Like you just got to get that first job, you know. But this is way before the internet, you know what I'm talking about, Billy. Like, I mean, like nobody could see your artwork, you know, there wasn't like DeviantArt, there wasn't things like that.
Right.
You know, so there was really no way to show your artwork to somebody across the world unless somebody allowed you to be printed. You know, it was a whole different game than what kids have it today, you know, with their Twitter. They could just do a Facebook post and some other fucker in China is seeing it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Those fuckers.
You guys got it so good. You got it so good. And
They don't realize how good
well,
they got it. They have no idea how easy it is, you know, with the way they have it. For goodness sakes.
So even at the Kubert School, I would go up to DC offices. I would just somehow call up like the front desk at DC's offices and ask for an editor, and they would patch me through, and nobody would ever answer like if it was that number. Like I found out later, if it came through the front desk, it would ring a certain way. If it came through like a direct number, it like each editor had two numbers. I found that out later on.
Oh no shit! I didn't know that. So you would just call in the front desk and like, all right, let me talk to Mike Martz. I'm like, okay,
Mike Martz or something. And sometimes they would pick up. Now this is. I called all of them. Eventually, one guy picked up, and his name was Dan Raspler. And he was like, "Yeah, sure, come on up here and show me this date, this time. Come up here, and I'll look at your portfolio." So I get on the train with my samples. I'm still in school, mind you, with some assignments. I put together in a portfolio. I go up there, and he takes the time to look at my stuff. And he gives me a lot of criticism. Dan Raspler. I never worked for him, but my understanding is he was kind of a hard ass.
Yeah, I heard that too about Dan.
Yeah. I don't know what it's like to work with him, but he was very critical over portfolio stuff. And then he would then take me down because he knew I just spent like 40 minutes on the train one way. He would give me sample scripts and say, come back in a couple of weeks with these pages. And, you know, Joe was actually cool with it. And I would start working that into my assignments, some of these sample pages. Are
you living in the dorms or something at the Kubert School? Is there dorms? Like, how you
survive? Yeah, which was the original Kubert School, was the mansion, which that's where the school was originally at. It was like Joe's. I don't know. I know this sounds weird, but it was like a 3-story mansion, I think, type thing. It was a pretty big real estate. It had like one of those dumb waiter things in the wall, even like it was like, I guess, turn of the century type house that he just used to. The school ran out of there, and then he got the the old decommissioned school building in Dover, New Jersey, and then he just turned that into dorms. And then there was another housing he had bought for that too. I lived in the mansion. But after the first year, I had a shitty apartment with like a cardboard door, literally like the glass was busted out and I had the cardboard taped up, like in Dover, New Jersey, above a pharmacy. And which Dover, New Jersey, like I didn't realize, I lived there for 2 or 3 years and I had no idea about the drugs and the prostitution on every corner. I had no idea. Everybody's like, you live in Dover? I was like, yeah. And they're like, you don't know what's in Dover? I'm like, I guess I should look down the street more. I don't know. Like, I lived in probably like one of the most crime infested places ever, but it didn't matter because I never came out of my house. You know, I just sat in and I drew all the time and drew samples, and I would work for Joe after I graduated. But anyways, talking back on Dan Raspler, I would get to go see other people at the DC offices and show them my portfolios and stuff. And I would get around and get more critique. And I would meet I can't believe I'm slipping on his name. The art director of DC Comics.
Chiarello?
Mark Chiarello.
Yeah.
And he was very helpful. He was like, hey kid, you're about 90% there. He's like, now here's that's the good news. The bad news is some people never get that extra 10%, and they're always stuck at 90% there. And it's weird. I actually want to look up and scan in and show people what my old samples looked like before I got hired in comics. And this is a time of meritocracy and how hard you had to be so good to get a job at comics at Marvel or DC. Indies wasn't really a big thing around this time. So like maybe I would get a little bit of work at Image and for free just to get printed, to then maybe Marvel and DC hire me. So I did some work on noble causes and stuff, and editors all of a sudden, well, it's just good to see that you could finish assignment. It was like, really? Like that? I mean, like that's what it was. And then I'd get a small gig here or there. But some of my first work was mainly in licensing artwork and trading card stuff for like DC Comics versus cards. Yeah. And after I graduated, I worked for Joe through Telegraphics, which was the PS magazine, the military comic. So I would work on that probably for about like 1.5 years, I think. So part-time, not full-time or anything. I would just do part-time work. And that,
you never got credited for any of that, right?
No, well, there was so many people working on that. There's pages where I would pencil it and Joe would look over it. He would alter it and then Joe would ink it. Joe actually inked me on a few things, but I can't even remember half of it because a lot of it was just like mechanical tech artwork, like busting down like a gun, or a lot of it before 9/11 was actually military maintenance, like maintenance on vehicles. It wasn't anything cool.
Yeah, the magazine's the preventive maintenance magazine, right?
Yeah, that's basically what it was. You'd have a Jeep talking to some soldiers saying, don't step on this part. Like, it just seemed like all the soldiers were stepping on the wrong items and breaking shit. I mean, it was like, why would these guys quit breaking military equipment? It'd be like a space heater talking to a guy or something like that. And then 9/11 happened, or after 9/11, then it changed. It changed to like, you know, how you and your buddies walk down an alleyway or something like that, or you know, the new helmets. Whenever there'd be new gear, we'd have to break it down and draw like how the maintenance and stuff like that. But the whole magazine kind of changed. But I eventually got into working in licensing and stuff. But it was cool working around Joe, and I think that was really important to me getting in comics, because he would give me shit that I didn't have a job in comics. And I'd be like, well, Joe, they're just not hiring me. He would just look at me and be disappointed in me. And then that would make me run back up to DC and make me be more persistent, because it's like, here's Joe disappointed in me, you know?
Yeah.
Damn. And Joe with a disappointing look is like, going back to being like a toddler and your parent just giving you a cold shoulder. I don't know. It felt bad, you know, like it you know, what, you know, so, I just stayed persistent, and eventually, like I said, I got into the DC licensing department, and from there, I would still be going up to DC, and I would still show samples, and I got like some fill-in work, like I think on Robin, and
Now, what year is this, Shane?
this had to be like 2002 or 2003 maybe. Into 2002, 2003, for sure.
And how was the love life? How was the crops of fillies down there at the old Kubert School in Dover, New Jersey? Like, you hit that hard? Were you hitting, you know, hitting the
I'll be
bars?
honest, Billy. I had women in my apartment that couldn't speak a lick of English. But it didn't matter, Billy, because the language of love is universal.
It is. It is.
You know, so I did my translation.
That's right. Sexlation?
Yeah. No, but that got weird really quick because I'm sitting there and she couldn't talk and I couldn't talk, and it's like, all right, time to
Sure, what it's
in.
like to be
We
Southern
just
boy.
like me, you, like, and she's like, okay.
There's a horrible story John likes to pull up about something I'm not going to talk about, but yeah.
You can't. Oh, shit.
Eventually, if you sit there with a woman that's interested in you long enough and you can't communicate, eventually something's going to happen.
Something is going to happen, ain't it?
And, Pete Cullen, $2 super chat. Thanks, man. Billy, asked Shane about how he kicked his meth habit.
Hey, Shane, how did you kick your meth habit?
I didn't have a meth habit to kick.
You're still fighting that dragon, ain't you, buddy?
Yeah.
That's how you also that wing.
That dragon's got wings.
Hey,
And
Matt Barr.
Matt Barr, thanks for the super chat. There's more Navy SEALs than there are artists working for the Big Two, Shane. You're a tier 1 artist.
Look at that.
Hey,
Shane Davis.
There you go.
You talented SOB.
Yeah. Going from the Joe never liked me doing the licensing artwork, even though it paid a little bit more. They basically were wanting me to go through all the Garcia Lopez stuff at the time and just kind of refurbish it for a new model sheet. Not that they wouldn't still use that stuff. They just wanted to be able to sell this more Batman images for people to pick for products. What did John say?
He's still in the denial phase.
Still in the denial phase. Chasing that dragon, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Which language was it? Spanish, Chinese? What were we doing?
Dover was Hispanic, you know, so I there was this whole thing with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, and I had this Ben Affleck look to me, so all the Asian girls were all about me.
You had them Jersey girls, didn't you, there, buddy?
Yeah. Yep.
2003, Shane Davis. Okay, so now you move away from the licensing stuff.
Yep.
And then you hit it hard with who gave you your first break? Shane Davis. How does Shane Davis become the Shane Davis who I'm sitting on a panel with, who's a mountain of a man?
Yeah.
Right? And
sure.
I
Why
didn't
not?
even recognize him from the Shane Davis who's now
That's
a great friend of mine, a man I love dearly.
That's what the Spanish ladies in Dover used to call me. They go, El Shano Mountino. And I was like, yeah.
You hear that? Latino.
Mountio Shano.
Shano Mountino.
It was actually, I think Bob Schreck was like the editor that gave me like a first big break, but it was weird. His attitude was like, yeah, I got you. Here's a fill-in you did or there. Now you need to go bug other people for work. So then I would go, while I was in the city, it was really weird. I could get a meeting at Marvel with like Mike Mars from Mike Rates or something like that when Mike and Mike were working together with those guys, because I was already going into DC to turn in some stuff. So it was weird. You really had to capitalize and try to get in both in the same day.
Yeah.
and you could tell, well, I'm only interested in you because they're hiring you. So then you're having to play off of one another to get jobs, which really sucked because it's like, dude, I just want to work in one place. I don't want to play this game. And most editors would only take an interest. It is weird. They would only take an interest in you if somebody else was working with you. I mean, it really, really sucked. Looking back at that, because one editor eventually said, "Oh, well, fuck you, go work at Marvel." And I'm like, dude, I want to work here, but you don't understand. Nobody will give me the time of day unless I'm working at Marvel.
Right.
On some Marvel Age Spider-Man books, and Hulk covers, which were made for Target, and they were taking like basically the old Stan Lee, Steve Ditko Spider-Man stories that were one-issue stories. And I had the same page count, but then they had to be reimagined in modern times. But they had to be take knives, tattoos, piercings out, all of this stuff, so parents wouldn't be offended by it.
But you're redrawing the classic Ditko stories. And is there an art? Is there a writer assigned to it that's actually updating these?
Yeah. Well? I worked with Mike Rates on one of them. At this point, he had quit working editorial and was doing some freelance writing. And it seemed like a lot of that stuff went out to people that had connections with editors already or had worked in editorial. Because it was already half written. You know what I mean? These weren't brand new stories. You're just retelling an already story. And it's interesting because that stuck with me a lot. Reworking those old Stan Lee comics, because of the way he would format his stories and how he could get through an entire story in one comic, and how he would jump scenes every 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah.
And there was an interesting mechanic there that worked, you know, and of course now I go back and I look at those old comics and I see, you know, how, at least on the Spider-Man stuff, how much of that was Steve Ditko or not, I don't know, but the way they would weave in and out of Peter Parker, the whatever dilemma, to Spider-Man, to this, to the final arc of Spider-Man and the villain fight at the end, and then the resolution. And it was interesting to me. And I put a pin in that because that'll come up later on. But eventually I was, you know, I would get on series. I think my first big series was with Jim Starlin on Mysteries in Space. It was like it was supposed to be a 12-issue series with him, and at the time they were like, I had to make a decision. I was either going to work on Wonder Man with Peter David, or it was supposed to be Adam Strange with Jim Starlin, which I was a big Jim Starlin fan. And hey, Deborah, how are you?
No, I had you muted, so say hi.
Good. How are you?
Good.
We're not sleeping tonight. We're fulfilling. And then we're going to Florida tomorrow. I'm sorry, Shane.
No, we're going to
you're
New Jersey tomorrow, right?
How do I do this?
Yep. But Jim Starlin was good to work with because he basically gave me insight. We made like a talking dog in Mysteries in Space, and he was like, "Look, kid, you need to fill out this equity form." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, if they ever do anything with these characters, I want to get paid, and you need to remember this." So he basically had told me early on at my career at DC about character equity. So from there on, every time I made a new character at DC, I would always ask to apply for an equity in that character. And you never know which ones will take off. Like I have like a solar system in Superman for some reason. Like there's really weird shit I have equity in, like a secretary at the Daily Planet I have equity in. And if that character's ever in a movie and they're talking, you know, I get a check. If they're, you know, I have video game characters like Ethan created Atrocitus, but I have like Bleeze and Dexter and a lot of the Red Lanterns aside from Atrocitus. So whenever they're in the video game, I get paid, or a cartoon or a Lego thing. Like, so it was very beneficial. But I learned a lot about creator rights through Jim, talking to Jim while I was working with him on Mysteries in Space, because you would just hear these old war stories. Like he was part of the original group of writers that I guess, what was that editor-in-chief's name that was a big deal at Marvel in the 80s?
Shooter?
Jim
Shooter,
Shooter?
yeah, I think
Okay,
Jim
yeah.
Shooter came in looking to establish like our royalty system. And and you would just hear from him. He's like, yeah, they only established that because of the death of Captain Marvel, like that oversized comic thing. That's they didn't establish that for trade reprints or anything. It was just any type of book that came off the newsstand. And it's interesting, like he would talk about how like he had nothing for Thanos, but he would get money for like Mongol at DC. And DC was always trying to be a step better than Marvel and paying creators for their characters, because DC kind of needed characters. That was one of the things with DC Comics. They've always been buying up characters like the Charleston characters, or trying to get Kirby to come over and do New Gods and build Darkseid and stuff like that for them. Like DC Comics in general, working there was always a need for new characters to go beside Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They have a lot of lame villains if you ever work at DC Comics long enough. Like,
They do.
Yeah. So, and I worked on Superman, Batman. From there, I got pulled off Mysteries in Space to go do some Justice League stuff. Like Dan was a big advocate for me. Dan Didio, he really liked my artwork, but he really wanted to pull me off Mysteries in Space right away and start putting me on certain projects. And I don't know if Ethan will remember this, but there was a time that we were supposed to do what it was Earth 1, but it wasn't going to be Earth 1. It was basically going to be like the ultimate DC Comics. Like, Marvel was having big success with their Ultimate line. I think at the time, like maybe Ethan was supposed to do Batman and I was supposed to do like Flash, and Gary Frank was going to do Superman or whatever.
Now, were you guys friends back then? When did you guys
from conventions? Yeah, okay. From conventions. Yeah.
I'm curious about the equity thing though, because like I've heard some horror stories. Was it hard when you were trying to apply to get equity for the characters you were creating?
Yeah, they make you run it down. They don't even tell you, and it's really weird. Like, because I remember telling David Finch about it, or Meredith Finch, when we worked together on a Catwoman thing in 2016 or 2015. And I was like, we need to apply for this. There was a new character we had made in there, like an owner of an orphanage that Selena Kyle was at as a kid. And I was like, her name was Miss Kitty Pond. There you go. Anyways, I'm like, we need to apply for Miss Kitty. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, at character equity, we need to apply for it. And she's like, well, David's made tons of characters and DC's never given him. And I'm like, they won't tell you. You have to go apply for it. And then sometimes you'll have to go chase down a check. Like it's not a perfect system. And there's been things DC's messed up on paying me. So like it's like they don't have a system to account for everything. Like there's nobody over here like accounting every video game and like in every Lego movie, because these companies will just pay a license fee and they get access to the DC Comics library. So Lego can make as much DC stuff in some sense as they want. So I'll see like an Aquaman like Lego movie, and I look at the back of the DVD and I see a little red streak, and all of a sudden Dexter's in it. So then I have to go chase DC Comics down and say,
because they're not going to just like, hey, guess what? You got to literally you have to chase their asses down.
Well, they may not. The people at DC Comics that would pay me maybe don't even know. That's what's so weird about it. Like there's no real accounting and bookkeeping in it. So it's very. I don't know. Like the comic division is so separated from all the other media stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not really included in plans or stuff like that. And I've heard even Dan talk about how excluded they are from a lot of the movie stuff and all of that. And it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be a big check, like, and sometimes they mess up completely and it's like, well, we already handed the money out and we forgot you. And it's like, that's happened, So it's not a perfect thing. I know Graham benefits from Bane. Now, I don't know everybody's deal. I just have the general equity in some of the characters, like, and they never really include me in on anything. Like I have no idea. Like I see the stuff on the shelf as it comes out,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
And
don't.
sometimes I get credit. You know, they'll say this character created by Geoff Johns and Shane Davis or something like that. And sometimes they don't. They don't credit me, but I get paid. So
Have you gotten any thank yous in any of the films?
no. I got paid for Man of Steel. So that was the thing too. Like Paul Levitz wanted to do like a line of graphic novels, like an OGN line, because they had a lot of success with Pride of Baghdad by Brian K. Vaughan.
Sure, yeah.
And some of these books, you know, they were coming out and they were you know, maybe hitting somewhere between 15 to 30,000 copies pre-orders, which are big numbers for trades at DC Comics. Those were big trade numbers on initial print runs of trades. So Paul Levitz, you know, being the publisher he was at the time, he was really always trying to diversify things. Like they had tried webtoons, you know, they had tried Paradox. Do you remember Paradox Press? It was like the big book of crimes, short stories, or the big book of murder, or big book of
yeah,
creeds.
that's not familiar.
Yeah. They were really independent books, but the Road to what's the movie?
Road to Perdition.
Yeah, that was actually a Paradox Press comic that was done at DC Comics, but was a different brand, more indie. So, anyways, he wanted to do a line of original graphic novels so they could get real world book press and not be littered with online like reviews, because that's what was happening to a lot of these collections is people had already reviewed them. So when they would go try to get big names to give quotes or reviews, they were like, well, there's already a bunch of dudes with neck beards all over the internet that's already gotten there. So that's basically what it was. They were like, well, we want New York Times talking about, we want the Chicago whatever talking about, we want Entertainment Weekly, and the easiest way to get more reviews and get the prestige was to go OGN. And so DC Comics came up and they gave me a deal, which was a really bad deal, and you're going to get the exclusives on this, Billy. They came up with a deal that was $40,000 or under $40,000 to draw Superman Earth 1, which was like a 128-page original graphic novel. At the time, it was like there were problems with the money, because normally I would draw a book and then I would get a check when it went into reprint, right? Because I got paid for the initial singles, and then it gets collected in trade, and here's another thing. At this point, this is a big step down in my money because I'm going straight to trade. There's no, you know, that's it. Like there's a one hit and that's it. Right. So I asked about the numbers. They're like, yeah, but we're going to give you a little bit higher percentage in royalty. So I'm asking about it, and they're like, but we're going to recoup it. And I really should have went and hired an accountant to look all of this over, because it was very convoluted. I'd even had editors look at the deal, and they were like, they couldn't make heads or tails of it. And basically, I asked, so I ran past two numbers I could figure out with a friend that was an editor and me, a scenario like A and B. If it sells this, I get this. If it sells this, I get this. And their response was like, well, closer to B, which is what I wanted. And so they gave me a very cryptic, fucked up answer. And basically, because it was recouped, I didn't make $1 off that book in a way, because they took back all the money. Like in a weird way, I only ever made royalties.
Right. Well, did they pay you like a lump sum up front? Is that
no? It was no. It was as the pages came in.
And
now
how many pages was it?
128.
128. Okay.
Now, what also fucked me up financially on that, and I at the end of that book, I was really like broke. I was really broke. Was I couldn't sell the originals, and I'll tell you why.
Oh.
So DC Comics, you can't sell the originals until the book sees print. Well, for an original graphic novel, they had to do what they call run a galley for reviews. That's 6 months after I was done. And then there's the production of the book. So that's another in early solicitation. So I was done for that book for somewhere between 6 months to 8 months before it ever came out.
Yeah.
And it took me about 8 months to a year to draw it. And the script was late, so I think it took me closer to a year. I was financially so busted because New Jersey was not cheap.
No.
Yeah, so it was I couldn't even sell the originals until it printed.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it sells out. And I'm like, "Oh, good. I'm going to get some money on royalties." No. It was like years before I ever saw a royalty because the deal, see, I knew my deal. What I didn't know was everybody else's deal, and to this day I still don't know everybody else's deal. But part of me wonders how it took me years to ever get a royalty off that. Was that they were pulling back everybody's money. So it was like, and I was like, there hadn't really been an OGN really that anybody I could talk to. I remember talking to a couple other creators, and they would just say, "Well, know who you're sleeping with," and I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Like, just, it's like, you know. But here's the thing: is and this is what's fucked up. So there was always supposed to just be one book. And people wonder why I don't like that run, or they think I'm disrespectful to the success of it or any of that. I took a big risk, a big financial risk to, you know, myself, my family, you know, at the time. You know, I was kind of sending money when I could back home to help my mom and brother out. But I took a big pay grade down from everything I was doing before that, and that's fine. It was a risk, and I was told I was given misinformation by a person at DC Comics on it. But what was really messed up is there was only ever supposed to be one Earth one, and then because it sold out and it was so successful, they just went out there and there was like an interview with, I think it was Dan at the time or somebody else. And it was like a Comic-Con thing or something. And they just said, "Yeah, we're doing volume 2. And I remember calling my editor up and I said, "What do you mean volume 2? Because that's the thing too. In the 6 months I was done with that book, right? And to run in the galley and everything, they wouldn't assign me to another project.
Oh no. I was going to
And I was exclusive at DC Comics. So I'm sitting around like they just have to make it up to me at the end of the year, but that doesn't help me pay my rent month to month.
Right.
So they just say they're doing a volume 2. And I call my editor up and I'm like, "What do you mean I'm doing a volume 2? Yeah, well, I just found out when you did." And I'm like, "Doesn't somebody need to run the book deal by me?" And he goes, "You're just an artist."
Oh.
And it was Eddie Berganza. And he said that to me on the phone. And I almost said, "Fuck you." I remember that those words almost came out of my mouth. And I instead I said, "Yeah, but there's a special book deal you guys are expecting me to sign." And I said, "I still haven't gotten a royalty from the first book. And I've been bled out with no work." And I just told him, I said, "I might just be an artist, but until I sign that deal, there is no book due. For me anyways."
Yeah.
You know, because so what had happened is I ended up in an exclusive contract with a book deal that would land on top of it. So I'm double contracted up. And it was just this weird thing that they tried to cycle me into. But at the same time, what was happening to me was they were signing me to an exclusive deal for work that that was a quarter with a string tied to it that they could pull back. So
right.
The way they were doing it, there was never any risk to them on the book. Like they were always going to recoup my money from royalties. And I mean, eventually with the Man of Steel movie coming out and stuff, you know, like I saw royalties. It took about that movie coming out before I got royalties on Superman Earth 1. And it took Walmart putting in stores for a month or two for me to get royalties. But it was a very fucked up publishing scenario. The way it was stacked, the way it was thrown at me when I was asking straight information about how this deal works out and pans out. Because, you know, I can only guess numbers, you know, and say, well, this is, if it sells this much, then I know my cost. But to my information, maybe they were recouping the inker, maybe the colorist, the writer, you know, was he paid, you know. And I got really, I don't know. I got jaded. I don't want to say bitter, but I was more jaded about the people I was dealing with. And I didn't hang around for book 3. You know, I was just kind of done, you know, because I was like, and somebody, I think, kind of a friendly guy at DC Comics, he's like, he called me, he's like, you SOB, you're going to run out on this thing and leave the other person with the bag. And I'm like, yeah, he's going to get me royalties on 1. When he does 3, and I'll get royalties on 2, and I don't have to, I'm not going to get stuck with the bill on 3, because that's basically what it was. Is like, you know, it was and from there on I got very picky about deals I would sign and stuff. And it's interesting because I had a call from Legendary, the movie studio.
Yeah, I remember.
And they wanted me to go work on comics over there.
I remember that.
Yeah, and it was all right. The money was really good. I had things in place that would, you know, if these things became a movie or TV show or whatever, I would get paid and all that. And I was okay with it. And I went over there. But what I didn't know and why they were after me is that, because Man of Steel hadn't came out yet, I didn't realize how much of Man of Steel that they were working on was coming from Superman Earth 1. So Superman Earth 1 kind of led me to that. Like, you know, like, which was, I don't know, like, it wasn't the best experience, but it was interesting working around Hollywood people and Hollywood types and understanding that, you know, how they function, how they think about contracts, how like they want to break contracts constantly, you know, and renegotiate contracts all the time, and just their mindset of things, trying to make cool looking costumes. And they're like, well, let's not mess up the character's face. Let's, you know, it is like, well, this isn't a fun way to make comics.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I got to hang around a lot with the Hollywood stuff and, you know, more in the internal mechanisms of Hollywood, which is educational, I guess, you know.
Are you living in New Jersey at the time with that?
Yeah, I was still in New Jersey. Yeah.
Right. Well, a couple of things that, you know, it's so funny because I remember, and Debbie will attest to this, is I think the year that I did Sergeant Rock the Lost Battalion. And then I got, you know, then some fill-in covers and stuff like that. My work for DC, I think I made $38,000 that year because I cared so much about this book. You know, and I just wanted it to be perfect, and I wanted everything, and I would spend 3-4 days on a page, you know.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, "That's done." I'm like, no, I got to finish this. You know, you don't understand. I need to do these ribbons like this. Like, it's done. And then that's why I had to hit like 20 conventions that year too.
Yeah.
Trying to, you know, because it's never enough, you know, working for them. But it's also, here you are with Eddie Berganza saying something like that to you as a grown man, you know.
Yeah.
To insult you like that, and then, but you're in a position, and that's how they treat everybody. Unless you are, until Shane became, you know, Shane Davis top tier. Unless you're that 2% of the top guys, if you're a Greg Capullo, you know, an Adam Kubert, you know, you could say Jim Lee, you know, he's past that now. You know, Scott Snyder. That's how they talk to you and how they treat you. But the thing is that you also can't. Remember, you wanted to tell him go fuck you, but if you tell him fuck you, then then he'll never hire you again, right? And then you'll say maybe that could spread to the other. You can't be like, here's T. Franklin telling all these people at DC, fuck you, right? Calling them racist, calling them all this stuff, and then she gets even more work by this.
Yeah,
which is astonishing.
That's a different time, but even today, I mean, you can only pull that card if you have the right boxes. Like, you know, like that's a whole different thing. But yeah, it was I don't even know, to be honest, that you brought up Greg Capullo or Adam Kubert. I'm sure the companies look at them and respect them in different levels, but you know, some of those guys got really tied to a specific buddy up with a writer, and part of the power dynamic is a little different case by case. I mean, Dan was always good to me and more upfront with me, but when you start getting around other editors, I would notice editors, if I was up in the office, they would kind of talk shit behind creators' backs to you know, as a flexing move, like in front of other people. And it was like, you wouldn't say that if he could hear you. You
No.
know,
Yeah,
they would
yeah,
be
yeah.
like, they would be having, I'm not going to say the creator, they would be having conference calls with the creator, and they would tell me, sit there and be quiet. And as the creator's talking to them, they're making funny faces the whole
Yeah.
time. And I was just like, this is just, you know, a lack of respect for creators. Or I remember asking, well, I wonder what so and so does today, you know, talking about, you know, a big legend name, and they'd be like, I guess he's doing commissions or something, and they would just change the subject. It's like, you guys really don't care about old creator, legacy creators at all.
Not at all.
No,
And,
you know, I do a lot of interviews with a lot of these guys, and that's what they say. You know, they're like we can do this still. We could still do all, you know, we could write these books, we could draw these
Right.
books, we could still do all this stuff. And they're like, all they do is they'll throw us bones here and there, so we shut up. He's like, but they're not, you know. And then they go into, you know, who they're giving the work to and how the editors function now, and they're like, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and it's a slap in the face to them.
Well, it's a slap in the face, but there's also like a disconnect, because what I started noticing there on my last, because Dan, well, first there's a big era here of my career that's really weird, and that was basically when I was a caregiver for my mom when she was dying of cancer. I moved back to North Carolina and was taking care of her. It was like a 6 months to a year. It turned out to be 3 years, you know, but a lot of treatments and stuff. And it was really hard for me to get on a monthly book. And DC Comics was also wanting to do Rebirth and Double Ship. And I remember when Ethan was getting canceled and stuff like that. And even when he came to crowdfunding, he was like, hey, you should come over here and do this. And I told him, I was like, straight up, I got all this stuff going on at home. And you know, I'm a caregiver now and all this. I was like, I just don't think I could handle it. And he's like, no, you probably couldn't. You should just take care of whatever. So, I mean, I would always talk to Ethan through Messenger or something like that. I mean, from cons, but also just online a little bit. I mean, we weren't great friends, but, you know, we were friendly enough. And that era of my career is really weird, because I mainly would do covers, or I would do a one shot here or there, and I would write and draw it or whatever. But the work I was doing was probably not my best. I was obviously distracted and overworked at home, much less on the board. And, you know, I really admired Dan for that, because he knew that and he understood, and it seemed like I would always end up with these one shots that I had time to work on a one shot and do 2 covers a month. And that really helped me get through that time financially. It was still strapped though. Like, it was I just couldn't take on huge assignments because everything was always touch and go. And I remember I just said, Alfred, I gotta get back to work. And they had signed me up for a bunch of Batman Beyond comics. And I remember I did one issue, and I did it in a month, inked and everything. The editor wanted 1 million changes, and I would do them. And it didn't matter if they were roughs to pencils. It's still 1 million changes. And I still got the whole book done in a month. And so I'm like ready to get going. And I remember the editor wrote me back about his dog getting attacked by another dog. And I was like, dude, that sucks. But do you know when this script is coming in? It's been like 6 weeks. And he, 2 days later, he called me up and said, I've already went to everybody in the building and I've cleared it. And you're fired.
Oh,
what?
And I remember calling Dan up, and I said, Dan, do you know? He's like, yeah, I just heard. He's like, I have to stand with my editors or the books won't get done. And I was like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? He's like, you got to get a job. You know, I was like, okay. And then I went to people at DC. I'm like, I've signed all this paperwork. What is up? And they're like, basically the editor had went through the entire company and shit bombed me.
Motherfucker. And you don't feel liberty to say who that is, right? And if you don't,
I don't give a shit. His name's Rob Levin.
Okay.
He basically ended up leaving the company anyways and working on humanoid books and stuff. But I found out later what it was about, and I guess I'd posted a picture of me on Facebook, because he had even blocked me on all social media. I'm working for him. He blocked me on all social media.
Now, what year is this?
I had a picture of me next to a Trump campaign bus. And
see this shit, guys?
Yeah.
Lunatics, freaking lunatics.
Yeah. No, it was a thing, and it came out of nowhere, so I didn't really have like any type of warning, like, hey, let me go find another job or anything like that. And that kind of hit me rough. Obviously, Yanzi was kind of telling me, well, just keep trying to get a gig. And it took like, it was weird, maybe 6 to 8 months before I could find other work. And again, it was working with Dan. But see, this guy had already went around the offices and burnt every fucking bridge for me. Any bridge I'd already done. And it was weird. It's like, dude, for all the money I've made this company, for you guys having to pay me for Man of Steel, all this shit, just like that, one SJW editor can just have a snap.
Yeah.
And go around to every editor in the building and make sure to shit bomb me just to justify the firing. And then the guy wasn't even working at the company maybe 5 months later.
Oh my God.
That's fucked up.
I find it
up.
so infuriating. It pisses me off like you don't freaking know. And it's
so
like
I did end up going back and working on a one shot with Dan, but it took me and Dan only working together because the guy had already shit bombed me through everybody up there. And it wasn't until later I found out it was about that picture of the Trump bus, and it was weird. I wasn't even a big Trump, to be honest. I mean, I liked him, but I wasn't like, and I voted for him, but I wasn't like the biggest Trump supporter. I just saw the bus in a parking lot and thought it was, hey, the president, or maybe our new president's in this bus. Let me take a selfie.
Yeah.
I mean, that was all it was, and
Shane, that shows the lunacy of them, of just how insane they are to cancel you because of something like that. And they did this similar to me, was because I voted for Romney in 2012. And that was it for me. All my work just dried up. This is even after winning the Military Writers Society of America, which is the biggest military, I guess, writers award. It's an equivalent to the Pulitzer, say, for military writers, and Tom Clancy, all these guys win. I won the gold medal for it for Sergeant Rock the Lost Battalion.
Here's the thing,
and being nominated for an Eisner, for all the great reviews, me flying myself out there to the Diamond Summit to promote the books. Hey,
I need to interject.
What?
It was not because you voted for him. Ironically, it was because you posted about voting for him.
Yes, thank you.
Now try to get somebody not to post about.
We can even right. Exactly. Well, they can post whatever they want.
Yeah.
No, you know what it was? It was the debate. Remember, it was the Romney Obama debate in 2012, the first debate, and I said debate, run, and there was like 1,000 people.
You were trying to boost Romney, and
now here's what's funny about what happened to me is that's the bus in the parking lot of a KFC next to a Walmart, and I'm taking a selfie just because I think maybe he's in there eating a bucket of chicken.
Right.
They probably thought I was like at a rally or something. It's like, no, this is like a parking lot of KFC.
So they fired him because of that, because he took a picture in front of a Trump bus. He's like, hey, look at this Trump bus in my town. Outside of a KFC, and that was it. And then this one editor, this piece of shit asshole editor, went out and then told everybody else, and Shane was gone.
Well,
it was done.
Well, it's like I said, it's the same thing that happened to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is before. What happened to me, though, believe it or not, was
hey, Chris.
was 3 years before 4 years before Donald Trump. This is just with Romney.
Well, I had heard editors say the same or similar things about Chuck Dixon or Graham Nolan, and they would just refer to them. Oh, they're Republicans. Like, what does that matter? Well,
that's what someone said.
Matter?
Yep.
But I was of the sense that never talk politics. And I still never did, really, working in comics. I never talked politics. I never talked religion. I just thought it was bad for business. That's what I was taught. And I never did. But I did post that picture on Facebook. So.
Way to go, Dan.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if it was Bernie and you posted it, you would have been fine.
Right.
With Trump, it's just ridiculous. Well, here's just a real thing, old friend. with all how hard, you know, the times were hard for you in the beginning, right? Remember
Yeah.
that you weren't making a lot of money. This is your excuse why you took time off from Yanzi. You're like, well, the real reason, honey, is that I was poor. I couldn't afford to
Yeah.
provide for you and give you the life
Yeah.
that you deserve. See, I mean, look at you. You look
The
like
cards
a
weren't just
Barbie
on the table at the time, you know?
doll. Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting there, you know,
Yeah.
I'm looking at 2 pieces of bread and wondering which one's going to be, you know, breakfast today and which one's going to be dinner Thursday night.
Thursday night.
You know what I mean? So, you know,
Yeah.
that's what you got to say to a buddy. That's what you
Yeah,
gotta
I
say.
mean, but a lot of times people are like, "Oh, you know, you worked at Marvel in DC," and it's like, dude, you don't understand. Like, just getting into Marvel in DC was hard, and the work. Sometimes some of the gigs paid really well, and sometimes they didn't. Like, no, like a lot of people didn't get roped up into the OGN deals like I did. But when DC Comics started like making this decision, I was doing Volume 2 without consulting me or asking me if I would. That's when I really had an issue with whatever momentum of our business that I had to walk away from DC for a few years.
You know what
You
they're
know,
saying? They're so used to people wanting to work there, needing to work there. So they
Right.
feel that they had the power to do whatever they wanted.
At
And
the
they're like,
time-
well, Shane, you're not going to take it? And then you're like, oh, I guess I'm going to take this.
If that book had been like my normal work, I would have never had an issue with it. The recouping every dollar on the book before I ever saw a royalty. I mean, all of a sudden, my original sales were effed up, and I were tied up for a lot longer than they should be. You know, because when I was doing single issues, as soon as that issue was done, I could sell the originals. Or as soon as that issue saw a print, now I have to wait for 128 pages to see print and run a galley and all that. Like, it hurt me financially so much at the time.
Yeah.
I remember having to borrow money, you know, and nobody at DC Comics really cared. You know, I mean, that wasn't their problem. And I had issues getting the script, which again, I can't get paid because I don't have the script. And it was so that book was, looking back in my career of all the stuff I did, that was pretty financially hard. Because in general, I think $40,000 was supposed to stretch in New Jersey over like I don't know, like a year and a half, because they really weren't hiring me the 6 months after I was waiting around on it to publish. And you know, just to give people an idea, like my rent was something like $1,400 a month.
Yeah, because it ain't cheap.
No, New Jersey's very expensive, so it was just like. I don't know. I just remember that being very trying financially, and you know, but I got through it. Obviously, I'm here today. But it looking back, like career wise, it's like, you know, comics is just such a weird business in general. Like I mean, a lot of businesses are. I mean, everybody's out to win. You know, or suit themselves and everything. I shouldn't have expected more from DC Comics or less. But I have good relationships with some people I worked with over that time, but in general, as a company, I never really felt like I was treated well by DC Comics.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of things, like when they pulled stuff from Man of Steel, I mean, like I had no thank you, no nothing. I have a letter from DC Comics and I had a check from DC Comics, but you know, Zack Snyder never wanted to say thanks for this or that, even though people at Bleeding Cool were like, look at this trailer, like the preview trailer for it, where it was like Zod's face and it was staticky and all, was actually all from our book. But there was never a thank you from Zack Snyder or anything like that, you know, like, and it's, you know, that was weird going to the theater and seeing it because other people had saw it and they warned me. So I went into it kind of knowing, but when you actually see things that you drew, like filmed, and like, I just remember walking out with the girl I was with at the time, and we were walking like 4 feet apart, and she wasn't mad at me. She just didn't want to talk to me about it. Like, she was mad at the situation.
Right.
You know, and it was just, I mean, people like to poke and make fun of it, but it's like, I'm not like scarred by it or anything, but it's like I wouldn't wish that on anybody either. Like it's just it's unnecessary and it's fucked up. And I mean, if you're gonna thank people that, you know, put the donuts on the table and the craft services, I mean, at least like thank the comic creators.
Yeah, you have Henry Cavill's driver gets a credit for the guy that picks him up from the hotel and drives him to the set and takes him home. He gets a credit. And well, again, you know, I've said this before, it just to show how little and insignificant they deem their creators is when the whole COVID thing hit.
Yeah.
And we were talking to Steve Jeppy about this, you know, and that was live, right? Oh, that wasn't live. Sorry.
No, that wasn't
about
that was a private meeting.
You know, DC Comics and Marvel puts out that pencils down order. To these guys who are maybe inking a page for $100 a page, these companies that worth billions of dollars.
Right.
Are you freaking kidding me? It's just so frustrating. And, you know, I think because I was privy to a lot of that stuff too, because I got in when I started working for DC and Marvel, you know, she was already a big hit. And, you know, a lot of them were friends. So I was in on a lot of that shit talk and stuff too, because I didn't care. You know, I didn't give a shit about any of these. So I heard them talk about, like you said, the editors and stuff, bad mouthing other guys, you know, writers and artists and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my God, what the hell kind of place is this?
So somewhere in there, after working at Legendary, I actually went to Image. I did my own creator-owned book called Extend, and everything was going good with it at first until it got announced, and then people were yelling, like, oh, look, there's another white cis male creator. This was around 2016. So around the Trump election era or something like that. No, maybe it was 2015. It was 2015 or something, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
so,
this right here, this post you made.
Yeah.
You like to call our randos.
Yeah, it's weird the way.
Hang on.
Yeah. It's weird. There's a talking point in there. This was before the election, but I actually kind of wrote Trump in as the president. But then I was like, the president gets killed in the book. And I was like, well, I'm not going to, he might win. I can't have him die, because then it's like I just drew the president getting killed. So I actually swapped the character out to look different, but it was written in like Trump dialogue. But it was interesting because with Extend, because like there was a really big SJW infestation thing happening at the time, right? Like but they kind of started happening more into the indie comics at first with Image, right? Like it was all about Bitch Planet and all about like Kelly Sue DeConnick or Sex Criminals or Saga, which I actually like Saga. But it's interesting from there. Then they took really big hold there, the criticisms and the books and what few sales were being made on some of these books, or people that were championing these, because not a lot of Image books actually made money. And then it grew into Marvel and DC for some reason. Mm-hmm. Like so it's I don't know. It was like ticks jumping from one dog to another, or fleas, you know, jumping from one dog to another. And you could see an uptick right away of like, you know, Bleeding Cool doing like, because I was given a lot of shit for this book. You can't tell from there, but a lot of people were like, oh, Shane draws 90s, and this is a hark back to like 90s style at Image Comics, and this isn't what comics are today. And like, I was really well, I mean, but here's what's interesting. When I went to do Extend to Image, one of the first people to come up to me at San Diego Comic Con to my booth to shake my hand was Todd McFarlane.
Oh, nice.
And you know, I mean, Todd was being Todd. His shirt unbuttoned. He had a Spawn medallion necklace on. You know, his wife on his arm, and he sticks his hand out to shake my hand. He's like, well, thanks for coming over. Well, at the same time, the whole Image Comics thing was becoming super woke. And it was, the criticisms were like, look at your character. He's a straight white male, your main character. And I'm like, yeah, but I have this Hispanic character over here. And then they're like, yeah, but you're not supposed to write a Hispanic character. You can't do that. You're white. And it's like, I can't win.
No. No, you can't with these people. You can't. It's yeah. I see that your bro, my brother, and yours, Isaac Snowden, like this.
Yeah,
Isaac says
yeah, yeah.
hello.
I know
Oh,
Isaac. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know Isaac from cons. Like Isaac was pretty big at. So now talking, of course I have Inglorious Rex up and funding, but I'm actually extend. When I came in to do indie comics, and this is a good segue for this. People were like, "Well, Shane, you can't use my work. I paid these colorists, I paid these letterers and inkers and stuff to do this." They're like, "Shane, you can't." They're like, "You can't print my work anymore." So now, like, ever since I came to indie comics, because of Comicsgate, they're like, "You can't print my work." I've been remastering Extend and reworking it and redrawing some of it and stuff. I shared my screen. Here's a couple of pages. Eventually,
Yeah,
I'm going to
please.
run this campaign this year.
That looks great.
And this is Extend.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's all been redone. All the people that told me I can't print their work, I just like, fuck it, I'll just redo it.
That's
So
great. Oh my God, we got to promote the hell out of this because this is going to be, a
Redemption.
multi-figure campaign, and then you'll be, I could have given you guys some royalties and all.
yeah, I could have, but you guys, and I think I'm gonna run their clip, like their quotes in the trailer. Like, I think I'm just gonna take their lines where they're like, "You can't print my work. I disassociate from you."
I
Like,
definitely would. Now you wrote this as well as
drew it. Yeah, they had good reviews too from like IGN and other people. Good
she's
quotes.
hot. I like her, Shane Davis.
Yeah,
a
lot of people liked Rain.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a weird these kids go into a video game, and then when they log out from the video game world starts coming into the real world, and they start to activate as their video game avatars and stuff, except this one kid that was kicking their ass in the video game and killing them over and over, like they're worried they have to team up and try to get to him before he gets so strong that he's just going to kill him in the real world. Like, so there's a lot more to it. Like I had like some geopolitics and nuclear themes in there because the world doesn't know how to deal with them when they come out and stuff. But it was a fun book.
Shane, when you launch this, and if you're launching, I'm just throwing this out there. You can always say no, but if you're looking for one of your pals to do a Rain variant cover, I'd like to hit that. I've always Bill Tucci do it for you.
I might take you up on that. She's a very sexy character. She's got these size, and she makes these energy chains and stuff like that. And she can slow down time, like with these chains, and that's basically what she's running through, cutting him up. But the size kind of come off the back, and I love these characters. They all have unique abilities, like
let's see the black and white too. I mean, you're.
Oh yeah. So these are Yanzi's inks.
Wow.
So Yanzi, this is something we've been doing this whole time in the background of Inglorious Rex and Inglorious Rex and Starlight Cats. So we'll just take a page here or there and work on it and chip away at it.
The cool thing is, you could say, and this book for the most part is done.
No, it is. For the most part, it is done. It's 99.9% penciled, 100% written. It's being inked and recolored and basically remastered. So we've been taking our sweet time with it though. Like this is just a background thing we've been doing. It's coming together really well though. But it's kind of it's a little bit of a slow process. But we're definitely trying to make it look better than the original, and there will be a little things that I've went in and redone that nobody will notice, but I notice. Like
That's an amazing panel on the right, and the coloring and all.
Oh yeah,
both of them are. But I love that the texture on his cowl or his mask or whatever whatever you would call that, if that's his face.
Yeah, it is his face. And there's more I wanted to do with these characters, which I'm actually drawing some extra pages to it so I can actually, because they evolve and they change and they're supposed to upgrade. And that character actually start to show him upgrade. He gets like these bat wings and his trench. He has a trench coat later on and stuff. He gets a little bigger. but I actually want to show them at their full upgrade in the book, like while they're in the game. So you see them at like, this is like level 1. I want to show them at like level 3, level 10. So I'm adding some extra pages to the book. And we actually have a supplemental story that actually talks about, because at first you think there are only 3 characters in the game, and this guy with the Anubis head is kind of like the moderator for the game, and the creator of the game. His name is Dog. But in the supplemental, we wrote it in the way where there were actually 2 more teams that these 3 had to compete against to eliminate to the final beta test. So we're actually going back and writing a whole new scenario that and adding a whole new book to this campaign. Again, we've been working on this for a long time. So
don't get too much. Get that campaign out.
Well, I want to. I'm pulling down Inglorious Rex at the end of April. Right now we're on our website at like $230,000, which is or $31,000. So thank you guys. We're going to pull this campaign down at the end of April. Of course, you can back this on Indiegogo, or you can back it on our own independent crowdfunding website, 9livescomics.com. And
that'll remain open, right? The 9 Lives Comics will remain open.
No, I'm gonna pull them both down.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I want to pull them both down. I don't think normally I would keep stuff up in demand up until I am done with the book completely, and I'm working on Inglorious Rex 2 now and stuff like that. I'm posting up pages and updates and stuff. I don't know why. Part of it's the kid, obviously Pterodactyl. But the streaming and the in demand just seems a lot more draining this time around for some reason. So I kind of want to pull it down, but I'm also planning sometime this year to run Extend. That's our plan. Whether I do run Extend this year or I run it next year, I don't know yet. Like it's to me, Extend's like this floating project. Like it can land where it lands. But
I think it'll be huge. It'll be huge.
Yeah.
And it's a done campaign. That's found money. That's money just sitting there.
No, it is. It is.
A new tricycle. She's almost ready for a tricycle soon. Next year, by next year.
Yeah. I mean, Extend, but the main properties I've been working on since I've done crowdfunding was obviously Starlight Cats, and then Inglorious Rex 1, and now Inglorious Rex 2, and then Extend's like a property I've had for a long time, but Extend's probably closer to my superhero property. But with a video game twist, it's like if superheroes were in a video game, your own superhero, and you have your power set, and what would that look like if you pull that out into the real world, and what if you could like gain points and XP and grow as a character and upgrade in real life by fighting the military, or taking down world leaders, or whatever, saving a pedestrian, stuff like that. So it's fun, but I it's like I have all these stories, Billy, swimming around my head. It's like I still have a script for Starlight Cats 2. We had an artist that had backed out of it, so that kind of threw a kink in that. So
you also got to think though, Shane. You got to think like a businessman. You're a publisher now, so you have to think about bringing in income. So if you're still in the early stage, the developmental stages of Starlight Cats 2, you've got a property right here, all ready to go.
Oh yeah.
And people would love this. I know you. Look at this. Look at the reaction from the chat. Everyone would love this. Accent. I think it's a great title. Gorgeous. And I right now, well, now
I mean, it looks amazing, dude. I'm really hyped for that. I like the whole concept of it.
Yeah. It's interesting. And the concept, but just the power base, like, because one of the main characters here, like, I'll share my screen again. Like, so they all have different powers. Like, so our main character here, the orange guy, the orange and green guy, Morn, he actually can only make portals. Like, that's his whole thing, but he has to concentrate, and he has to know the portal A and portal B, where some enters and where it exits. You know, I was talking about the rain chick and how like she has the sickles and can slow down time. But this guy here, his whole thing is he's able to basically gain control over what in video game language is called ads, meaning just NPCs, people in the background, non-playable characters. So like these little things here, he takes control of and they turn into these beasts. So like in the book, like a military is flying at him in these jets and he just starts turning the jets into these giant bat creatures. You know,
now,
like
are these villains or anti-heroes? What's their beef?
well, so at first they just thought they were in a game, trying to be the #1 player. Ruin, which is this guy with the flames at the bottom, he would be considered the villain, but he was also the top ranking player in the game. So, like, even though they were all kind of against each other and they were free for all, like Morn and Rain, basically, when the game starts spilling out in the real world, they actually have to team up with the little dog character, that Anubis guy I was showing you. He comes out all corrupted and small and weird, and he's dysfunctional, and they're trying to get to this guy before he gets too strong that they can't stop him.
Okay.
Because he killed them over and over and over for what seemed like years in the video game. So they know if they couldn't stop him in the video game, they're not going to be able to stop him in the real world. And unlike the real video game, like when they get their head cut off or they die, they respawn back. They just come back and respawn and they play again. In the real world, they won't be able to respawn. Like that's kind of like the ticking time bomb. The other side of it is the rest of the world dealing with them when they see them. You know, when he's taking down like military vehicles and armies and stuff, the rest of the world doesn't like it. And I have a whole dynamic system in the book with nuclear arms and the rest of the globe. This program I had called the Run program, which was like these floating nuclear missiles in space that if like basically NATO voted, they would take a vote and they could nuke a country if they didn't get in line. So like that, there's this whole geopolitic thing that I deal with in the book later on, because it's not really set in this timeline. Even though I was pulling some stuff from the Trump election when he was debating Hillary and stuff during that time. Like I just found that stuff interesting. I had some Hillary lines in there, kind of digging at her and stuff like that. But it's kind of like its own reality. It's not in this world type thing. Like it's, you know, the way the world works there with, again, this nuclear system of, you know, they could just vote a country and drop a nuke on it, but it has to be a united vote. Like, you know, and it keeps all these countries and these big nuclear powers in line to dominate the rest of the world, you know, like, and I'd have to go back through it. I wrote it so long ago. There were certain countries that were involved in that program too. Like, and that's also what was the nightmare to continue it, is there was so much stuff that started happening with North Korea that threw me off. Cause it's like, I was like, what's going on with North Korea? You know, at the time, this was, you know, when he was going Kim
Jong-il, whatever. Kim Jong-il. He's calling Rocket Man, Little Rocket Man and stuff, right?
After I did this, he came on the scene like out of nowhere, hot and fast. And it to me, it just like, it baffled me, because it was like I was dealing with all this like dropping nukes on a plant, because I'm not getting into the ending of it, but it's a big thing in the book. And then he came on and I just got like, I was just observing everything, every bit of news with him, every little rocket test, the way North Korea viewed him, everything. Like, it, to me, it was super interesting. So the rest of my books, I've steered away from geopolitics for that reason, like, because that stuff doesn't age well. Like, you get caught up in what's happening in the news, and I don't know. It's like, how does it affect your comic stories, you know?
I think it's a great concept, and it's gorgeous, and I think it'd be huge.
We'll see. Well, I mean, like you said, it would be, it's good if it funds. I mean, right now, like, basically funding it is, I'm asking for it to be paid to get these people off of it. Because when these people are like, you can't print my colors, you can't print my inks, you can't print my lettering. The letterer said, you can't print my lettering. It's like, I paid you guys. it was work for hire. Of course I can.
Yeah, you can.
In their theory, they just want to cry victim, or they want to pull my book away from me so it's not in print. And Image quit printing it when I came to Comicsgate.
Yeah,
so they
super
just
chat.
Yeah, I bought some of them and they destroyed the other copies. So you know, and it's weird too, because I sunk in a lot of my savings to do the book, you know, when I did it. And, you know, I'm hoping to recoup it back, you know, through trades and stuff like that. But then becoming Comicsgate, you know, between Image destroying the book or what was in the warehouse, what I couldn't take, and, you know, like these people supposedly pulling their work away. It's just like, I'm just kind of like, fuck it, I'm gonna redo it and I'm gonna put it out. I'm difficult to deal with when it comes to shit like that. When people throw like ultimatums at me, like I usually push forward.
Yeah, I would. Well, that's what they do to everyone. They push, and I mean, look at Trump. He's raised over $10 million in a day, and they
crazy.
Say like 60% of their donations are from people that never donated to Trump before.
Yeah. I just want to read this quick super chat we got from Valdez. Thank you. I'll back you, Shane, if only if you make fun of those that pulling out of the book, as always, the highest tier.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we had another. Hang on, let me just check real quick. We had one more super chat. Yeah, here we go. Evil one.
Thank you.
How did it feel to be on the covers of Wizard magazine, Shane? That's when I really realized you were a big dog.
Ooh.
And have a fun and safe trip, Billy.
Thank you, Evil one.
I miss Wizard magazine. I think the American comic book industry went down with that. Like when Wizard dipped out or they quit doing the magazine, because that caused competition between publishers. Like they wanted to be shiny, you know. Once you took Wizard magazine away and it was left to whatever's on the internet, like it, you know, it turned into whoever will retweet stuff.
Yeah,
I've actually thought about kind of talking about that, but the Wizard era for me was I'm talking about as a guy that bought Wizard magazine as a fan. Like I just never really saw the industry without it. Now a lot of people were spending money, and this is backstage stuff, but a lot of publishers were spending a lot of money to get advertising in Wizard, and I understand they probably didn't like that. But I do think like Marvel and DC, especially those two, and Dark Horse and everybody else, indie guys too, needed to compete, you know, and flex in one place, you know, and I think that made better content in comics, period.
Well, yeah, you know, I owe so much to Wizard magazine. I mean, they championed my books. Well, I guess the books took off and then they championed it, but we were on, you know, man, we were in the top list for 4 years, top 10 list. It was
Polito were like right there all the time with Todd McFarlane and all those guys.
Sitting up there with them, and that's why the pros got to know you. You know, they're like, you know, holy shit, you're the guy in the Wizard. I remember the first time I met Mark Bagley was John Romita Jr. introduced us. Look at me dropping names. Look at this guy.
Look at you with your Rolodex.
Yeah, with the Rolodex. So Johnny Jr., I meet Mark Bagley for the first time at Cabo Cabo in San Diego. And he's like, and who's this guy? You know, because I was just hanging out with them. And John Romita goes, this is the guy that's going to knock you off the Wizard top 10 list next issue. Watch. And I did. I love Mark Bagley. And we had a great time that night, all hanging out and stuff. But you know, that was me and Debbie's introduction to everybody, because we met Johnny Jr. and we just got along like that, all of us. And then he introduced me to a ton of people. Him and Jimmy Palmiotti introduced me to a ton of people. So, if I may, real quick, take a break, Shane. I just want to thank everybody. And who was it? Was it? No, that's Joe Frankenstein. No, we'll get to that. Who had posted? Was it Randy? Someone said there's only 20 minutes left. And thank you guys. 18 minutes left for our Kickstarter. So this is why I do Kickstarter. Right? Because this is our secondary. This is the campaign. This launched a few weeks after an Indiegogo campaign launched. This is for Zombie Sama, Dorm of the Dead. I make it an exclusive. There's an exclusive cover to it. And thank you guys. Look at this. We got 18 minutes left, and we're nearing $20,000 for our little zombie comic that could. And I just want to thank everybody out there who supported us. Again, this is a real labor of love for me and John Brolia. It's a fun book. It's made by two not so beautiful men, but it is a beautiful story, and it's got a lot of heart, a lot of fun. Book is at the printer now. So that book is at the printer. It'll get printed hopefully this week or next week when we get back from vacation, and we start fulfilling. So get in on it. Check it out, guys. If you could help us hit that $20,000, that would be huge, and we truly appreciate that. You guys are great. You guys were just wonderful. Thank you, Randy. If I hit this, Marcus, but when Cartoonist Kayfabe talks about Billy and Wizard, they talk about payola. I never, ever took an ad out in Wizard magazine. I never gave them a dime of money ever. Wizard, never once did I ever do that. And I'm glad that if you can send me that link, buddy, I'd like to see that video, and I'd like to talk to those guys about that, because never once did I do anything like that. Again, we never took an ad out. Never paid them any money, nothing. Bought them a few beers. The guys, once in a while, they bought me beers, as you do at a bar. I'm a good time. But aside from that, never once did I ever do anything like that. Neither did Brian Polito. I think Brian took ads out, though.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've heard
payola was a
Marvel and
person.
DC. I know Marvel and DC did, but
Yeah, they did. Heck yeah, they did. I didn't, because the fans kept buying the books. So thank you for that. And again, I never did that. Shane, real quick, we got you on for almost an hour and 45 minutes. You got a lot to talk about, because I want to talk to you about, and if you don't mind, we'll go 15 minutes more. Because I'm very fascinated about how you ended up in CG and how you ended up on Indiegogo and crowdfunding and becoming the master of your own domain and making Yanzi making you a sandwich and all. But Scala, can you play that video that I played earlier? Not the cat upstairs, but the other one.
The other one? You want
the one outside the Starbucks with the kids?
Oh.
I have something really important to ask. The moment I saw you, my eyes were just, oh my god, I love you.
Yeah.
Shane, what do you think? I think that deserves a bam, because that's what that was.
A queen! It was a queen! What the fuck is
I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry, Billy.
it's okay.
Yeah. I like how that kid set his drink down first.
Yeah,
Like,
yes,
right?
how calm he was, and like
The kid that got hit, hang on, the guy that got hit, let's pretend he's 18. The guy that got hit, like he should have saw that coming. But he probably did know it was coming when he's hitting on the dude's girlfriend, but
But it's just so fun, that lack of respect for the guy, because I've gone through that before with Debbie, and I posted on Facebook, and I remember we were at a club one time, and I went after these guys because I'm dancing with her, and these guys are staring at her, And I'm like, you looking at my girlfriend's ass? And I just went after this guy, fucking hit him. I got thrown out of the bar. They were good times in the late 80s, early 90s. But
the ultimate flex is when you throw hands at another guy in front of your girl. That's like the,
Heck yeah, dude, it is. Heck yes.
Oh,
We were in the movie theater, and these guys were all acting loud and stuff, and I went up to them, and I'm like, so what I really said, I'm like, dude, there's these big dudes behind me, and I think it's funny what you guys are saying, but there's these big dudes behind me, and there's like 6 of them, and they're gonna kick the shit out of you guys. Hey, John, what's up? I said, they're talking about.
I look so huge. Look at this shirt.
Yeah,
You got it. Yeah, that's what.
Hey.
There you go.
what?
There you go.
Nerd alert!
That's all I wanted to do. I just want to show. Look, when that Turtles movie came out, the Michael Bay one, I was working construction, and this one other guy was a nerd, and so we all went out and bought matching Turtles shirts so we could all watch the movie together. It was great.
Yeah.
That's my story. Have a great night, everybody.
No. Come on. He's gone. He's gone.
That's it. He's gone. That's all I wanted to do.
Come back in, John.
See what John did. He came in here to steal the show.
Jeez. But anyway, so I did say it. So I said, these guys are talking about kicking the crap out of you. I said, I can't help you. I'm with my girlfriend, and these guys are big. I'm like, oh, thanks. And they shut up, and I got back to my seat, and my girlfriend was looking at me like, how manly are you? Because it looks like I went down there and just told him to shut the fuck up or I'm going to kill him.
Wow.
It was all like, because there was like 3 of them. Anyway, but I digress. Zombie Sama coming down on the final minutes.
That is epic, guys. Please go out there, check that out. Zombie Sama on Kickstarter.
12 minutes left.
And it's going to still be in demand, right? On
No,
Indiegogo?
Kickstarter ends. Kickstarter doesn't go in demand.
No, but what about the Indiegogo?
The Indiegogo is going to be in demand for a few more weeks. Next week, Debbie's got to take off some more tiers because we gave the printer our numbers and everything like that. So we're going to have to limit the book. So if you guys want to get them, if you're Indiegogo guys, now's the time to get them because next week she's working on that because we're building our next campaign, which is the Senryaku Omnibus, which launches next month. 360 pages of good old of 36 individual short stories with some of the best artists in comics, with Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri and Adam Hughes and Amanda Connor, Jimmy Palmiotti, Joe Quesada, Jeff Smith, Terry Moore.
Damn.
Some of the big ones, big ones. Frank Frazetta, George Perez. Are you kidding me? So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Be a nice collection.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys, everyone who backed it. I guess, Niall, you want to keep watching that and we'll go back at the end and I could thank you.
Yeah.
Now, Shane, here goes.
Oh, go ahead.
You get the axe from your fellow creators. No pun intended. Times are scary, right? A little scary. You had talked to Ethan earlier because you were interested about telling a story, whether it's Starlight Cats, you're even though you're married, Yanji's there, but you're still alone, right? And your creativity, you're nervous, right? I mean, what am I going to do?
I'll be honest about that. I'm still nervous about comics. Like that was one thing I didn't like about working at Marvel and DC is waking up every day and I had this dread every morning. I'm like, this shit's not gonna last forever. I was like, and I'll tell you why. It had nothing to do with comics. It had to do with the people I was working with and their lunatic behavior and how people were making these books up on the fly. Nobody really knew what the fuck they were doing. It was like if something was a hit, it was like by accident. Like there was so many. When you worked in comics, like I feel better now because like I can look to the left and right of me and say like I know what's going on. I know what I have some sort of control, right? You know what I mean? You when you work at Marvel and DC, like you're accepting failures from maybe a script from your editors to an inker to a colorist to a whatever, a publisher. Releasing the book too early, releasing the book too late, like it's like all of this shit lands on you. And I today though I still feel like I'm not gonna lie, I feel better about comics. I feel better about the books I'm making. I love the books I'm making, Billy. I mean, these are the things that I've always been into the comic medium before I have been the characters. I mean, I'll be honest. I loved drawing before I really got into X-Men. I loved drawing before I really got into Spider-Man and stuff like that. But I love those characters too. But if somebody said I have to pick Batman or making your own comic, I'm going to make my own comic. Yeah. I mean, if not for the sake of just not dealing with all the headaches and baggage. I mean, I love the independent comic scene. It's a lot different though. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I mean, the shit's different. It's you really got to make it work. Billy, you've been in the independent scene way before the internet and stuff. But I mean, you get out there and you were on the conventions scene, getting the character out there, letting people know it exists, shaking hands, telling people, here's my book, here's she, like it's sometimes I don't know if some people understand that part of crowdfunding.
Well, even now, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, even now we're working.
Yeah.
This is work. I mean, it's fun to hang out with your buddies. But it's like we're doing it 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
But we're working, we're promoting ourselves. It is fun that, we've made such great friends. Scala is up at Connecticut. One of my best friends, he's up at Connecticut. Have we met each other, have seen each other only twice, right? In our lives, Scala?
Oh yeah, just twice. Yeah,
Oh.
that's all we've ever actually.
What is it,
met,
more than
yeah.
that? I mean, how many times?
In person? Oh,
Yeah.
probably about. Honestly, we probably only hung out maybe like 12 times in person.
12? What do you? Wait a minute.
Yeah,
We hung
Billy,
out. We
your
hung out.
memory.
No, we hung out. You
Billy,
came.
what does it take to leave an impression on you? That's what I need
You
to
come
know.
here. You come here to my house twice. You've come to Long Island twice, three
Been to your
times.
house 3 times.
You know, you've been to my house.
Been to 6 conventions with you. I've been to 3 I guess signings with you. I don't know.
All right, so we probably hung out.
It's about maybe
12
like,
times.
yeah, about 12. Maybe 11. Maybe 11 times.
Yeah, about 11.
But we
10
stay up
times.
late talking. I mean,
Yeah.
the talking's good, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's what's cool about what we can do. But we talk to each other every day, you know, pretty much where we stream all the time. And the
Yeah.
same with you guys. I mean, I love all you guys. You guys have become my best friends, you know, just a stream. And I can't wait for us to get together. And we hope I can, me and Andy Smith can wrangle you to come on down to Heroes Con. For one
Yeah,
night.
I'm gonna eventually go.
Come on
I
down
don't
for a
know.
night. Crash with Fraga. Or
Yeah.
crash with Andy.
I'm
Crash with
driving back.
Reenie.
I'm not staying in Charlotte.
What do you think of this? You crash with Reenie, bro.
No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, why not?
She probably because I mean it's Reenie. It's
You think she snores? Do you think?
Probably. I
Hmm.
think you know what, Billy. I think she.
A queen! It was a queen! What a fucking fact!
Yeah, I mean, she looks like she eats beans. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, poor Reenie. We all
That's
love
the
Reenie.
worst is when you room with somebody and they're very gaseous.
Mm.
Yeah, you got to worry about that.
They eat a lot of food. It's the food she eats. It's the diet. It all contributes
be.
to it. The drinking.
Well,
My God, the drinking. You should have seen Reenie. The
Yeah,
drinking.
the
I-
drinking.
I wasn't proud.
They're saying Shane, you're not that far. We yeah. I'm
We
not
tried
that far
last
from
year.
Heroes Con. I'll probably drive up. I don't know. We'll see. I'm doing Tampa this year. So I'm kind of saving my nuts up for that.
When is Tampa? Oh, it's Memorial Day weekend, you said?
I think so, yeah.
Ramen noodle
They're
farts.
saying
are the
ramen
worst.
noodle farts are the worst. That's probably
They
true.
are. They're horrible. They're hot.
What's worse,
Yeah.
raisin farts or ramen noodle farts?
I don't think I've really ever smelled a raisin fart.
Well, just smell a raisin.
You
That
ever
sounds-
smell those farts that smell like burning?
Yeah.
Speaking of like rooming with someone, me and a buddy got sent out to do some out of state work many years ago. And one night the dude was just ripping ass, and I was like, bro, it smells like something's burning. He's like, I know, right? He's like, it's all that meat I've been eating.
Oh, what a dickhead.
"Oh." Yeah, so we kicked the girls out. We're like, you guys gotta leave.
Anyway, all right. So Shane, you got to feel a little more secure now with the success you've been
Yeah.
having. I mean,
In like 3 years, we've raised, I think we were counting up almost $700,000 in 3 years in crowdfunding.
wow. Of how many
So,
projects?
Now, of course, like it was like 127, 300,000 and something. And then if I take my website and put that together, it kind of pushed it in because I had a small campaign too for Black Friday. It kind of hit 700 around there, a little under, a little over, like $700,000 in 3 years. So look, I mean, those are crazy numbers. But I'll be honest, I've never felt more tired in my life.
Yeah, I know.
You know, you'll never work as hard as when you work for yourself. I mean, that's the truth is, Bill Burr said that, and it's a lot of people have said it. It's very true, because like no matter what, you're like, well, I should be live streaming, I should be drawing, and that's the other thing too is like, you know, I'm awarding myself. I'll show some pages from Inglorious Rex.
Yeah, please do.
But I've awarded myself a lot of time to. Oh, this is funny. Oh, let's do this. To draw some of the best pages I have in my career. I'll go back to that in a minute. All right, so here's some Inglorious Rex artwork from book 2. So, you know, I'm taking time and trying to put in, you know, and get the muscles just right and the detail on the monsters.
Damn.
the buildings, really trying to make these big panoramic scenes. I'm going to have these things crawling buildings, jumping off buildings, doing suplexes, whatever, fighting the outside threats, which are the vile, just having all the fun in the world.
They have like bricks falling off the buildings when they leap and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
man.
little bricks in motion and stuff like that. I'm working on a crazy spread right now for book 2. I'm going to put up as soon as I'm done. It's killing me though. I'm having to draw like basically these guys in a sea of these things they're fighting, and it's like a double page spread of just these two fighting, and I'm trying to get scale and draw these monsters at the same time. This is a funny DM between me and Yanzi. I'll show you guys.
Yeah, please.
Let me see. This is our relation. I say, would you be okay if I had a fight set up, like a one-time thing? And she goes, do you know the guy? I'm like, yeah, his name is Frank Kitchen. I made that up. Frank Kitchen. That's a good name.
Yeah, it is.
He's a real swell guy. We go back. We are just going to go about 20% in trade blows. This is funny. She goes, well, you know how I feel about fighting, but I respect your wishes and I appreciate you informing me. The only thing I will insist on is that you get an insurance plan first.
Dang.
Here we go. And I go, well, I lied, sort of. I don't know the guy. He would probably be younger and will try to take my fucking head off. So I will be forced to landscape his face also. And then she just, no charity. Because I told her it was for charity.
Right,
right. That was a true Yanzi story there. But no, I'm taking my sweet time with some of this and really trying to get in there and draw every vein, every muscle. Del Keown's a big inspiration. I just can't do what Del Keown does. Not many people can.
Yeah. Well, everyone's different. We're all our individuals. Now, how many pages is this going to be total at the end?
I don't know because of the fighting. I have like the basic brick of the stories points, with like the book 2 with like little T and like the ending. And I have like the setup here with like Nate and Alex. And when they're actually engineering 232 for the first time, like I have all of that set up. But when I get into the middle of it and it's just anatomic and Razor, or Anatomic and her Rex and Alex and his Rex, and they're just fighting the Vile. Like I mean, it's weird. I could stretch that out for pages. I'm not going to try to. I'm hoping it'll be because it definitely won't be 48. It'll be probably closer to 60 or so pages. But like I'm keep coming across these spreads, and it's like they just eat up real estate real quick. But they're all action shots.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. It's trying. So I went through and I basically have drawn like key scenes in the book. Some of that's from the previous book, but this is a stretch goal. This is a trading card. The original cover, I did have a crown, but it just didn't fit in with the logo. So this is a stretch goal that everybody gets across board for whether it's on my site or Indiegogo, where like it's a lenticular card and the crown and the flag will disappear. It's a 3-flip card. So the holograms will appear and reappear as you flip the card. So that's a really cool thing. But this is like the Vile, the creatures that are outside the city that the Rexes are basically built to protect the city from. Now, this is the outside world. They don't live in these buildings. They live in like a futuristic city up under a dome. But this is what remains of the outside world. So it's fun, but it's time consuming. You got the buildings, you got these complicated monsters, but it's a lot of fun, like for me anyways.
Well,
like
you can tell how much you love it. And that's another thing that people should know that, I mean, Shane, he's done it before. Shane could pencil a page in a day.
I won't on this, but I have.
And it's because your backers deserve your very best.
Yeah.
And you're going to deliver because ultimately we answer to them, and they'll let us know if they're not happy with the book, they won't come back. So we know that how what you guys deserve, and that's why some of these books may take longer than we think they're going to take. But every one of these, it's just the time putting in. Look at Shane doing all the veins, all the muscles.
All the little
Yeah, I mean, the
scales here,
detail
like
is
that.
just
That's just
ridiculous.
that's stupid. Like, I designed this character, and I'm like, I design characters that take hours, days to draw. I need to design them simpler. Like, but I remember as soon as I killed this Rex here, I was like so happy I would never have to draw these scales again. Like, I was like, that looks cool, but like isn't time economic to have to draw that forehead over and over again.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. You know, so
it's gorgeous, man. It is gorgeous. Let me go up to the pod there.
Oh yeah.
Why is he on the outside? Why is he on the outside of it?
Oh, because they're genetic tissue, like they're a living organism. So the cockpit, when they go outside, there is like a cockpit, like a kind of like a glass shield because they can't breathe the air outside.
Oh,
but basically, this is kind of like they call it the cradle. It's kind of what's like sewed into the back of a Rex. Because the Rex is like a living, breathing, eating genetic clone of the fighter. So like, let me give you a rundown here. Let's not look at Jan's.
But they get inside of that. Do they climb inside?
No, they get inside it's kind of like a saddle on a horse.
Mhm.
I didn't. My logic is that they can't be inside the Rex's living body, and they're basically plugging into its neural system and controlling it. But you know, because of organs and all of that, there's just no placement for that.
But they're inside, so he was on the outside. It looked like.
Yeah, they all ride on the back.
Oh, they
like,
do.
Yeah, like all of the pilots ride on the back. But and that's what killed his brother is and it's talked about, but I haven't actually shown it because that's a bigger mystery in the book. But you know, Alex basically is given an option to pilot his brother's Rex 232. This is his brother here in the suit. That's Alex over there in the blue hoodie. His brother died in the ring by the Rex in book 1, Rune, and from an illegal punch to the back cockpit. Like, you know, in boxing, you can't punch in the back of the head and stuff, but it was an illegal blow to the back cockpit and it killed him. So, you know, it's just like a saddle on a horse. It's like if a horse rolls over on you, you're fucked either way. Yeah. You know, it's just, it's like I never really saw a reason to try to build up this thing on the back there's no protecting them from a punch that size. So I just was like, when I was coming up with the rules of the fight, I was like, it's just an illegal blow to hit to the cockpit. You know, that's just, you know, so that's a big part of the story. Going forward, we'll find out, was that arranged? Was that on purpose? Was it a mistake? You know, Alex is now piloting 232, and there's some sort of echo or something of his brother in 232. Some memories are in there because because he died plugged up to him. Like and 232 is cloned from his brother. That's why he's able to pilot it. But at the same time, it's not a perfect link. Like technically, Alex should have his own Rex made. So that's his situation in book 2. He won and he is now crowned King Rex and the protector of the city. But you know, the question is, and this is going to come from like Anatomic, his girlfriend, who's a Rex fighter too and stuff, is like, did he really win? Could he really protect the city when the time comes to protect the city? And she's going to challenge him for the betterment of the city to a fight. And that's kind of like the kickoff for book 2, but they're both going to get ejected outside the city and have to defend the city. So
does 232, does he experience, I guess, PTSD from the death?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
so and that's kind of fucked up too, right? So,
yeah, well, that's part of the story too, is he's kind of beaten and doesn't really know how to operate, because after Nate died, 232 was like basically decommissioned as just a sparring Rex. I don't think I have that page here, but basically he was just as a punching bag. And, you know, in this fight, he ends up fighting the guy that killed him. So when Nate died plugged up, I mean, he felt it. You know, and there's things in there, like memories between Alex and Nate in 232 and stuff that we're going to explore more in, you know, because the more Alex, and not to ruin book 1, and you guys can still buy book 1 on our campaign now, but 232 speaks, but not the little T, our main antagonist, the guy that basically puts all this stuff together and everything. He never built these things to speak, and that's a big issue. Is like, why is this thing talking?
Okay.
And we're going to explore that in book 2. Little T's not thrilled. Like when he set up this fight, he was just setting it up for to try to get more the people to love Rune more, the guy that had killed his brother. Like the citizens really didn't like him. They like he's kind of like the Ivan Dragoff type character, where like maybe he, you know, he did an illegal blow, and is he really the champion because like 232 wasn't around? It's kind of like with Holyfield. A lot of people didn't accept him as the heavyweight champion because he never fought Mike Tyson.
Right.
Until he did. So then there's a lot of fighting reference I throw in here in the world I'm building. But the bigger thing about Rex is it goes outside of fighting. It goes outside of like a post-apocalyptic world where these creatures, the Vile, basically they pollute the atmosphere and they kill every living thing. And that's really the reason why they make these Rexes, is to fight these things. So that's a bigger part of the story. You know, I wrote this thing out to be at least 3 to 5 books, somewhere in between there. It might be closer to 4. Like the action stuff is weird because you can really stretch this stuff out. Like when you get into these action books.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you're not crazy, like end up.
This gives you a chance to get caught up. So what I would do is, you know, once you close this campaign, once this book is ready to go to press, and you go to press, Graham has done it, I've done it, or I'm going to do it. Once you get that new book and you start fulfilling Rex 2, right? You can then launch your next campaign.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's when I would do Axe. Sorry,
Extend.
Yeah, it's hard to pronounce.
Yeah, Extend. It's supposed to sound like Extend. It's supposed to sound like Ascend, but Extend like with an X, but it's like ascending, like you're ascending. It's just a different play on words. But yeah. I'll probably end up doing something like that. It's just it's hard to Extend's like kind of like I said, a floating campaign, even though I have more than enough artwork to run the campaign. It's just been something we've been working on in the background. Rex has obviously been a major priority for us, and we've had a lot of support. So I want to thank everybody for believing in this book. I mean, Inglorious Rex. I think we've made over $500,000 on Inglorious Rex.
That's awesome.
You know,
congratulations.
It's been a really big success story for us, and a life changer for us too. And the beautiful thing about Rex is it's the book I've always wanted to draw.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm putting in my best in this, as you guys can see. I want this to, one day to just be this work that people, when they talk about me and I'm not here anymore, they're like, Rex was his best work. That's what I'm trying to achieve with it, but every book I do, I do that with, whether it's Starlight Cats and Inglorious Rex, it's great too, because we have every incentive to do our best work, Billy, because it's our work,
That's right.
Yeah.
And you've shown, your passion comes through, and you can see on every single panel of that book that you're passionate. And that's, same with Accend. Your passion right now is also Rex. So you're all into Rex too,
Yeah, my creator-owned stuff has always been kind of like my better-looking work, and that's not by design. It's just that's where my heart is something I own. It's like I love fighting though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fight fan. I'm a big monster fan. To work these things together and put together in a book has been like a real big, awesome dream. To even have people crowdfund me, like it's great. How's Zombie Sama doing? You said
good. It closed successful, and I don't know, Scal, if you got that.
You're gonna pop it back up?
Yeah, pop it up.
There you go.
Woo-hoo! So we closed it. It was I think it was a 21-day campaign. I think $17,447. Thank you to the 209 backers who helped bring our little Zombie That Could comic to fruition. And as I said, the book is already at the printer. We'll start fulfilling maybe the end of this month, early May. We start fulfilling. So thank you all.
We're fulfilling this month, and we'll be able to launch Zombie Out to the end of the month.
There goes Debbie saying we start fulfilling. So thank you all out there. Really appreciate. You're gonna love this book. It's a fun book. Thank you. And our Indiegogo, we're gonna be adding some new campaign levels. We're gonna be adding the Zombie Sama Sketch Edition, which we have with some sketch covers and taking down some of the other books because again, did you set your numbers already? Got all your numbers yet or not yet?
Yeah, I'll finalize them tomorrow.
Yeah, so Debbie's gonna finalize our numbers, and that's when our printer will know which books are which. And so get them. if you're an Indiegogo chat, yeah, go get them while you can because we're gonna close them out because we have to move on to the next campaign and get this one out. So thank you all. So thanks. All right, Scala. And Shane Davis, thank you, brother.
No, thank you
I
for
told you
having
I'm gonna
me.
go 40. I was gonna go 45 minutes, but this was such a fun.
Don't ever believe.
I know 2 hours, Shane. We had you for 2 hours, but we always have a lot of fun on the shows.
Yeah,
But this was a nice, good, great deep dive into your career, which is something that we like to do here on the
I
podcast
appreciate it.
to get to know the real Shane Davis. And,
Oh, you don't want to know that guy.
No.
But thank you for having me, Billy. I appreciate
Anytime.
it as always. Good going. I'll probably see you on Kings, I guess.
he froze. Anyway, thank God we got rid of that guy, right, Scal?
What? You're the one that froze, bro.
What happened?
I don't know.
What happened? He froze up, and then you froze, and then I'm gone. Anyway, maybe
I'll probably see you on Kings.
Yes,
next.
yeah. I'm going to be in Florida, but I'll jump on the Kings. Hopefully, we have good internet.
All right.
We're renting a house. She rented a whole house, so we've got it's a little house, but we got a pool. We're gonna have a good time. Hoping to see Patrick Thomas Parnell and Whitney maybe Friday night, and then we come back up Saturday morning. We drive all the way back up. We drive to Penn State because my son Matthew wants to go there. He's got an appointment. So
real quick, somebody's asking me if I'm doing sketch covers for Inglorious Rex. We don't actually print sketch covers. We do have sketches you can buy though. Like a lot of people, their own thing. If you'll scroll the campaign, they're up for sale and you get to pick. I think we have 5 choices. You can either get Alex, Anatomic, 232, Razor, or Little T. So if you want to check those out, they're on the campaign. If you've already backed us on our website, you can actually just add on to your already existing order and it'll recalculate your shipping.
Excellent. Shane, when are people going to see you online on YouTube next?
I don't know.
Do you have a show Friday? You guys doing anything?
Ballers?
Oh, Ballers. Yes. It's going to be on Patrick's channel this week. I actually have to dip out of Ballers a little early this week. I'll be there, but I won't be on as late as they go. So it's just I'm just rotating with him. But it was supposed to be on my channel this week, and then the following week will be back on my channel. But yes, Ballers this Friday, please. 10 o'clock, Patrick PTP's channel this week.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining a very special edition of Thursday Night Live with Billy Tucci on Wednesday. Shane, thanks a million for coming on, man. You're awesome. The book looks great. Got a lot of respect for you, as I hope you know. And I just appreciate your friendship. And you too, Scala.
No, thanks.
All right, so take us out. So thanks, everyone. I don't think I'll be back next week for Thursday Night Live with Billy Tucci because I'll probably be sitting poolside drinking. But then again, maybe I will.
Well deserved.
Yeah. We'll see how the internet is there and how I'm feeling. Maybe I will do it. We'll see. Thanks, everybody.
All right, everyone have a good night.
Shane.
Thanks, Shane.
Take care.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.